Hi students, this is Suchadatta teaching economics to class 11 and we are on the statistics book and with the second chapter collection of data. We have been reading that economics is a study of money, finance and statistics is a part which depicts this in the form of values, numbers. So, here we will be talking of the collection of data which is the first stage, and in the collection of data we have to talk about the sources of collecting data and the mode of collecting data in detail in the following chapter. Before I start doing that, just understand few terms, and those are variables and data and the values. Now, for this you must understand that whenever you see a particular data, you realize that the values in that data vary. That is to say, supposing in 1776 there were 8 industries in India. In 1777 the industries rose to 9, and 78 and 79 and 80, and the number of industries keep rising. So, this numbers which vary, the values which vary, which change are called as variables. Because they vary, they keep changing. So, these values, the numbers are called as variables. When we have to represent this in the data, we represent it by say x, y or z. Now, the values of the variables like 8, 9, 10, 11 are called as the observation, and these observation together form the data. Now, data is very important for collecting information on a small scale or on a large scale. So, thus this collection of data is important for understanding the problem and taking out some solution to the problem. Now, what are the sources of data? How do we get them? For this, we have to understand that there are two sources of data, the primary source and the secondary source. As far as the primary source is concerned, this is the first hand information. That is to say, a person, an individual tries to collect information by himself and by appointing few people. And this data is exclusively for his own use in the beginning. That is, it is his requirement. He wants it, and thus he collects the information in that manner. But sometimes there is that we need certain data, we do not have the time or money, and it is available. So, we use the second kind of data which is called as the secondary data. This secondary data, we can process it by the agency, by any agency. Now, the basic difference here remains is that this primary data is meant exclusively for a particular thing, for a particular information, for a particular person, for a particular individual, whereas the secondary data is the one which has already been used, and now we are reusing this data to gather some more information. Thus, this primary data will be more time consuming, will need more time, but this will be the first hand information. This will give us accurately what we are looking forward to, because we will be collecting our data on the basis of the information that we want to gather. Whereas, in this secondary data, whatever is available to us, we will have to make use of that. So, this data can be reliable or it cannot be. It could be useful to us or could not be useful to us, but we have to make use of this secondary data. Most of the secondary data is available on the websites that we have. So, thus those saves our time and money, but it could not be accurately exactly the same information that we are looking forward to. When we were talking of data, the primary data and the secondary data, we must understand that as far as collecting of data is concerned, the most basic method which is employed for collecting data is the survey method. That is by trying to find out from the people either directly or indirectly by questionnaire method, by mailing method, by say by telephonically, we try to find out the results of what we are trying to collect. That is the survey. Now, how do we collect the survey? Not one individual can go and collect the survey from all the people. So, we have to employ enumerator who is a trained person who knows how to collect data. Thus, a person who goes from home to home collecting data for the survey is called as the enumerator. Now, when we talk of the questionnaires, the surveys that we do, most important that we must remember is that whatever information we are trying to find out, we should not make it very long, because nobody has enough time to just keep on answering unending questions. So, it should be in limit. That is to say, in the survey, the first thing important is that while taking a survey, keep the questions as limited as possible. Next is that we should start moving the questions from general to specific. For example, I should say, what is your name? Okay. Then, till which class have you studied? From where have you studied? What is your present occupation? Then I come to the specific ones. Are you happy in the profession? What are you looking forward to? So, first of all, a friendly approach, and then go specifically towards the information that we are trying to gather. Thus, the basic principle remains while surveying is that the questions should move from general to specific. Next is that the questions can either be closed ended or they can be MCQ kind of questions. Now, when the MCQ kind of questions are there, we can put up the category, and one of the category can be any other. Now, any other, if you tick that, we do not know what any other. For example, I will try and explain it to you. I say, which drink do you like? So, we will write Coke, Fanta, Limca, and the fourth one will be any other. So, this any other, if that has been ticked, is something which we have to really understand, because it is not giving a clear picture of what is the drink that the child or the person whom we have asked is liking. Now, in the closed ended questions, it can be, if it is to be explained, then maybe the person is not willing to go to that depth, is trying to hide. So, here also the problems can arise. So, the survey is a very tricky method which has to be done in a very expert manner by a perfect enumerator. So, while we are talking of the collection of data, primary data, as I said, is to be collected first hand, that is individually by going yourself. But as far as the secondary data are concerned, we can collect it from various sources, from the website, from the publications, that is the educational publications or the government publications or the non-government publications, and the reports of various commissions, reports of various surveys, and so on. Thus, this is first of all the method of collecting data, but in the next clipping I shall be talking about the mode of collection of data. Now, I will try and explain it to you, the mode of collection of data. there are three popular modes of collection of data, and those are personal interview, mailing and telephone. Now we will go step by step. The first mode, as I said, is personal interview. Personal interview means that the interviewer goes from home to home and sits face to face with the person and interviews him. That is, there is a direct contact between the person who is to be interviewed and the interviewer. This is the first mode of collection of data. Now, as far as this mode is concerned, we have to see that there are advantages and disadvantages connected to it. As far as the advantage is concerned, the first thing is that by this we can get accurate response, because you are sitting face to face. So, you know exactly what the feelings of the other person are. And supposing you are not satisfied with the answer, you feel that there is little more clarification required, then you can do the clarification there and there itself, because both of you are sitting face to face. Now, there is disadvantage also of this kind of mode, and that is this personal interview mode works out very expensive and also time consuming. It can also be that people do get influenced also. Now, I will try and explain it to you by giving an example. For example, if I go for a personal interview to a home and maybe I like a particular party, and I want to find out about the status of that political party, the rating, the popularity chart, then I am going to put up questions in that manner that the answer is in favor of that political party. Now, for example, if I say, do you see development around you after the coming of this political party? Maybe the answer at first response would be no, but I am going to twist that. Say for clarification, I am going to say, I feel, and don't you also feel that it has become little better than what it was earlier. Now, I will say, of course, it has become little better, but still not up to the mark. So, here I catch it, and I influence the person whom I have interviewed, and I also bring up my data in such a manner that my influence, my feelings have an effect on the collection of data. So, that is the biggest disadvantage of the personal interview mode of collection of data. Next is the mailing method. In this fast moving world, this mailing method is becoming very popular. Now, mailing method is when you mail and you give a time limit and tell them to fill it and send it back to you. In this, the first advantage is that it is a very cheap method of collecting data, that is very inexpensive method of collecting data, and even the people who are living in the remote far flung areas, if we want to collect information, we need not go there physically, but we will be able to get the information in the specified time. And I also cannot put any kind of influence on the people from whom I am collecting the data, because there are set questions set on the mail and they are answering to that. Next is even the sensitive questions which I might not be able to ask during the personal interview can be posted on the mail. Besides, the identity of the person whom we have asked and also the one who is interviewing can be hidden. So, people can become more open, there will be more clarification, there will be more, say, the real genuineness which will come out, because there is no face to face interview and interviewer. But this method also has certain disadvantages, and those are, this method seems to be the method of the literates, not illiterates. because they might not be able to use this kind of a method. And sometimes it might take a very long time because the people might not give the response on time owing to laziness, lack of time, and thus the reactions of the people also which come cannot be watched. I will not know what exactly they felt. For example, if I ask a sensitive question while a personal interview, I know instantly, did the person feel shy? Did the person get embarrassed, or was he open? There was no such feeling. But during this kind, I cannot find out as to what the reaction of the person was. The third and the last method of collection of data, or the mode of collection of data, is through the telephone. Telephone is when I start telephoning certain people and I try and collect data. Now, in this kind of method, the best advantage is that it is of low cost and I cannot influence anybody and I can get high response. I can give telephones to more number of people. But the biggest disadvantage of telephone is that not all people in India have the telephone facility. So, those in the remote areas, the poor people, the uneducated people to whom I am trying to get access to for collecting certain information, I might not be able to collect it at all. Besides, the people might not show interest with me on telephone. So, these are the three methods and the advantages and disadvantages of the mode of collection of data. Now, let me talk about a term called pilot survey. Now, what is pilot survey? Pilot survey is also called as try out survey or a sample survey. Now, this kind of survey is used as pre-testing for a bigger survey that we have to conduct. Now, the biggest advantage of this pilot survey is that we come to know about the shortcomings and drawbacks of the questionnaire that we have prepared. Wherever we feel that the people have not filled up a particular question, or they have been hesitant, or there have been vague answers, that is the time we know that this is not a fit question. So, this pilot survey helps in the conducting of the survey in a better manner because we pre-test our survey beforehand. Now, let me talk of the other two kind of surveys, that is the census survey and the sample survey. The census survey talks about every element of the population, and this is generally conducted after every 10 years. It is the demographic representation of the population, meaning to say about the literacy rate of the population, the birth rate of the population, the death rate of the population, the workforce, etc. So, all these informations are derived, collected by the census survey method. This census survey is conducted by the Registrar Council of India. The second that we have is the sample survey. When we do not have the sufficient means, time, energy, and that is the time we collect sample survey. This is done for a group of people, section of people, and thus the cost which comes out is lower and is also less time consuming. But this sample survey will have many disadvantages. For example, supposing I want to conduct a survey in a particular community of their income level. I will collect, say, information from the 500 people which are staying there. I will collect information from 50 people. Now, in this sampling process, in the sample survey method, where I can go wrong is that the people whom I have collected, the 50, it could be the rich ones, or it could be the poor ones, or it could be the middle ones. So, I will not be able to gather the average income information of the people residing there. And it could be at my leisure. I might take the ones which are there in line 50. So this might not be a very accurate method of collecting information. Of course, if I increase the sample survey, that is the number of people involving, then maybe the results might be better than what they are. But the census survey gives us a detailed information, and the sample survey is the one which gives us information on a sample basis. Let me talk about the random sampling and the non-random sampling. Random sampling is when at random I decide as to which individuals or units I have to survey. There is nothing that I have pre-decided. It's that I just at random decide about it. For example, if there are 300 houses, I say I'm going to pick up every third house, 3, 6, 9, 12 and so on. So, whichever house I pick up is at random. So, there is an equal chance of the person or the unit or the individual having got to being interviewed, being surveyed, and equal chance of not being surveyed. The example of this can also be the lottery method. That is, I just pick up at random few names. Now, the best part about it is that everybody is at equal footing because we have not selected or left out anybody. That is the random sampling method. Now, here it could be that I say, okay, I am going to pick up every fourth house. So, it is be 4, 8, 12, 16. So, if I had decided this, it could be this. If I decided for 3, it could be this. So, every individual or a unit has the chance of getting surveyed or not getting surveyed. Now, I talk of the non-random sampling. As far as the non-random sampling is concerned, it's little complicated and biased because a person selects and decides which people, units or individuals is he going to survey. Now, this becomes biased maybe because I feel, okay, let me pick up the houses which are on the main road because I would not like to go towards the houses which are at the back side. So, here what happens is I become biased in my attitude towards the sampling, towards the survey. And thus, not everybody has an equal chance of getting surveyed. Not everybody is at an equal footing. The opportunity might come to you because you have an advantage, you have an edge over others. Then I talk of the exit polls. Exit polls generally are done before the election results. Now, election results, when they have to come out, before that the exit poll is done to find out which party is going to win and which is going to lose. And this again is a method of collecting data, collecting information from few hands, from few people, and thus making the information based on this, and thus they predict, they say that this political party is going to win, and that's called as the exit polls. That is the result before the real poll result comes out. The results which we feel will come out after the poll is called as the exit polls. Let me talk about the errors involved in the sampling and the non-sampling methods. As far as the sampling errors are concerned, the biggest error is that the actual value might never be known, because the difference between the value that we have derived, that is the sample value, might not be the same to that of the actual value, because maybe the number of people that we have taken are not sufficient to give an estimate of the value. But of course, this defect can be taken away by increasing the magnitude of the survey, that is increasing more number of people in the survey list. Then we come to the non-sampling survey errors. In this, the first is the error of data acquisition. When we go and collect the data, there are few mistakes which can happen. For example, the recording that we have done could be incorrect. That is, the response that we have taken from the people could be incorrect because they have not given us the right information, or we have not been able to put it up directly in a correct manner. It also could be that there an error creeps in because of the transcripting. For example, if I want to say a person is of 36 years of age, but the transcripting error can be that I say he is of 63 years of age, which will make a lot of difference. So, this data acquisition errors are either because the record is incorrect because of the response provided, or because of the transcripting errors. Then there are non-response errors also. For example, a person does not want to give information. That is the time that whatever information we have derived is of no value, is of no use, is incorrect because we have not got the response from the person. He is not willing to answer the questions. Next is the sampling can be biased. A person who has gone to collect the survey, he can do it at his own convenience, he can do it at his own will. That is to say, he might collect the samples from the areas where he feels are people who are friendly. It could be that he collects samples from the area which is closer to his house. It could be that he collects samples from the areas where transport facility is excellent. So, all this can give up errors, and thus the non-sampling method can be full of errors. So, we have to keep in mind that all these are not included while we are collecting our survey. Let me talk about the census and NSSO. As far as the census is concerned, the agencies involved in this are many, like the Labor Bureau, the state organization, but the chief amongst them is the Nation Sample Survey Organization. The census provides us the complete demographic information, that is about the size, the density, the literacy rate, the birth rate, the death rate, the number of males and females. The entire information on the population is completely available by the census that we have. From 1881 in India, we've started having regular census, that is after every 10 years. After independence, the first survey was done in 1951, but then there were gaps in between. Thus, census survey is one of the most important survey which gives us the complete information on about the people residing in a particular country. Now, let me talk about the National Sample Survey Organization. This organization collects surveys of the nation on various socio-economic issues, and it presents the report in various journals, that is putting up the report, and also takes out a quarterly journal called as Sarvekshana. For example, in 59th of this survey, which was held in 2003, they collected survey on the land and the livestock. Whereas in their 60th survey that they had in 2004, it was on the morbidity and the health issues. Thus, this National Sample Survey Organization is dealing on all issues related to the people, the health, the literacy, the death rate, the birth rate, and most important, it also talks of the condition of the industries and the crops in India, which means we will be able to find out the price index number. Thus, the National Sample Survey Organization of India is giving us valuable information on various social and economic issues which would have been otherwise left out. Thus, census is providing complete information on demographic skills, whereas this is on issues. That is, this is more to do with the population and this is to do with the issues related to population. And that was all about your chapter. Thank you.